In just 29 seconds, one of country music's biggest stars went from smiling politely to absolutely unleashing on a beloved morning show host, exposing years of buried resentment in a fiery exchange that ended with a dramatic walkout that nobody saw coming. Before we dive into this explosive confrontation, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the confrontations they don't want you to see, and the truth behind those fake smiles. Don't miss out. Last night's episode of Today with Jenna and Friends was supposed to be a light conversation about Carrie Underwood's latest album and her upcoming tour. Instead, viewers witnessed one of the most uncomfortable and heated arguments ever broadcast on morning television. What started as seemingly innocent questions quickly spiraled into a full-blown confrontation that revealed tensions nobody knew existed. The cameras were rolling live when Carrie Underwood walked onto the set wearing a beautiful blue dress, her signature blonde hair perfectly styled. She waved to the audience and sat down across from Jenna Hager, who greeted her with that practiced television smile. The studio audience clapped enthusiastically, completely unaware they were about to witness television history. Jenna started the conversation by complimenting Carrie's dress, talking about how amazing she looked. Carrie thanked her politely, but even in those first moments, you could see something in her eyes. A tension, a wariness, like she was preparing herself for something. "So, Carrie, it's been a minute since you've been on our show," Jenna said, leaning back in her chair. "We've missed you around here." Carrie smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Yeah, it's been a while. Your new album is doing incredibly well," Jenna continued, glancing down at her notes. "But I have to ask, and I think our viewers are curious about this too. There's been some talk about your personal life lately, some rumors floating around." You could see Carrie's posture shift immediately. Her shoulders tensed up, and that polite smile started to fade just a little bit. "What rumors would those be, Jenna?" Jenna laughed, but it sounded forced. "Oh, you know how it is. People talk. There's been some speculation about your marriage, some questions about whether everything is as perfect as it seems." The audience got quiet. This wasn't the fun, light conversation they'd been promised. Carrie took a slow breath, and when she spoke, her voice was measured and controlled. "My marriage is private, Jenna. I don't really think that's appropriate to discuss here." "Oh, come on," Jenna said, waving her hand dismissively. "We're all friends here. Our viewers love you. They just want to know you're okay. When celebrities keep everything so buttoned up, people worry. They wonder what you're hiding." That word, hiding, you could see it land like a slap across Carrie's face. Her jaw tightened, and she shifted in her seat. "I'm not hiding anything. I just believe some things should remain between a husband and wife." "Is that really so strange?" Jenna shrugged, that fake, sympathetic look plastered on her face. "Not strange, but it does make people curious, especially when your husband hasn't been seen with you at several major events recently. The CMAs, for instance. He wasn't there." Carrie's hands gripped the armrests of her chair. "He had work commitments. That's not unusual. I don't show up to every single thing he does either." Right, Jenna said, nodding but clearly not letting it go. "But you have to admit, from the outside looking in, it raises questions. And I think our audience deserves honesty from the people they support and admire." "Honesty?" Carrie's voice rose slightly. "You want to talk about honesty? How about we talk about why you're really asking these questions, Jenna? This isn't about my fans being concerned. This is about ratings and gossip." The studio got even quieter. Producers off camera started shifting nervously. This was going completely off script, and Jenna's smile was starting to crack. "That's not fair," Jenna said, but her voice had an edge to it now. "I'm asking questions that people want answers to. That's literally my job as a host." "Your job is also to respect your guests," Carrie shot back. "To treat them like human beings instead of zoo animals you're poking with a stick for entertainment." Jenna's face flushed red. She clearly wasn't used to being challenged like this on her own show. "I think you're being a little dramatic, Carrie. I'm just having a conversation." "A conversation?" Carrie let out a sharp laugh. "You ambushed me with invasive personal questions about my marriage on live television. That's not a conversation. That's an attack." The audience started murmuring among themselves. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others seemed excited by the drama unfolding. Jenna tried to regain control of the situation, holding up her hands in a placating gesture. Okay, let's just take a breath here, Jenna said. I didn't mean to upset you, but you have to understand. When you're a public figure, especially someone as successful as you, people are going to ask questions. That's just the reality of fame. Carrie leaned forward, her eyes locked on Jenna. I've been famous for nearly 20 years. I know exactly what the reality of fame is. What I don't accept is hosts who pretend they're being friendly and supportive while actually trying to tear you down for views. I am not trying to tear you down, Jenna insisted, her voice getting louder. I'm trying to have a real conversation instead of the boring, sanitized interviews where celebrities just promote their projects and say nothing of substance. So, my marriage is substance to you? Carrie demanded. My private relationship with my husband is content for your show? Jenna threw up her hands. You're twisting my words. I'm saying that people connect with authenticity. When you open up about your life, the good and the bad, that's when people really feel like they know you. People don't need to know everything about me, Carrie said firmly. They don't have a right to every part of my life just because they listen to my music. And you don't have a right to pressure me into sharing things I'm not comfortable with. The tension in the studio was so thick, you could cut it with a knife. Jenna's co-hosts, sitting off to the side, looked like they wanted to disappear into their chairs. Nobody knew what to do or say. This kind of confrontation just didn't happen on morning television. Jenna took a sip of water, clearly trying to compose herself. When she set the glass down, her expression had changed. There was something colder in her eyes now, something less friendly. You know what I find interesting, Carrie? Jenna said slowly. You come on shows like this to promote your album, to get publicity, to sell tickets to your tour. You want all the benefits of being in the spotlight. But the second someone asks you a question you don't like, suddenly, you're all about privacy and boundaries. Carrie's mouth dropped open slightly. Are you serious right now? I'm completely serious, Jenna continued. You can't have it both ways. You can't use the media when it benefits you and then cry foul when the media does its job. Its job? Carrie's voice was rising now, anger clearly building. Since when is spreading gossip and invading privacy journalism? You're not a journalist, Jenna. You're a gossip peddler, with a pretty set and a fancy title. The audience gasped. Someone in the back let out a nervous laugh. Jenna's face went from red to almost purple. She clearly wasn't expecting Carrie to hit back this hard. How dare you? Jenna said, her voice shaking with anger. I have worked incredibly hard to build this show, to create something meaningful. You don't get to come in here and insult me on my own program. You don't get to ambush me with personal attacks and call it an interview, Carrie fired back. You set me up. You brought me here under false pretenses. And now you're acting like I'm the problem, because I won't play along with your little game. Jenna stood up from her chair, and Carrie immediately stood up too. They were facing each other now, the coffee table between them, the only thing keeping them apart. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every second of this incredible confrontation. Nobody set you up, Jenna said through gritted teeth. You're being paranoid and difficult. I'm being difficult? Carrie let out an incredulous laugh. You've been taking shots at me since I sat down. Little comments about my marriage, about my husband, questioning my authenticity. And when I finally call you out on it, I'm the difficult one? I asked normal questions that any host would ask, Jenna insisted. The only reason you're reacting this way is because there's obviously something you're trying to hide. If your marriage was fine, these questions wouldn't bother you so much. That was it. That was the moment everything truly exploded. Carrie's face transformed from angry to absolutely furious. Her hands were shaking, and when she spoke, her voice was ice cold. You know what, Jenna? I've tried to be professional here. I've tried to give you the benefit of the doubt, but you just showed everyone exactly who you are. You're a bully. You use your platform to attack people and then act shocked when they defend themselves. I am not a bully, Jenna yelled. You're just too sensitive to handle any real questions. Real questions? Carrie shot back. You want real? Let's talk about your credibility. Let's talk about how many guests have complained about being blindsided on this show. Let's talk about how you smile to someone's face and then let your producers leak negative stories about them afterward. Jenna's eyes went wide. That is a complete lie. Is it? Carrie challenged. Because I've talked to other people who've been on this show. I know I'm not the only one who's felt attacked and manipulated. The studio was in complete chaos now. Producers were trying to signal to the director to cut to commercial, but Jenna was waving them off. She wanted this confrontation to continue. She thought she could win it. If you're so unhappy with how this interview is going, you're welcome to leave, Jenna said, crossing her arms over her chest. Nobody's forcing you to be here. You know what? I think I will leave, Carrie said, her voice steady and strong. Because I'm not going to sit here and let you disrespect me for entertainment. Fine, Jenna snapped. Walk out, run away like you always do when things get tough. Carrie stopped, turning back to face Jenna one more time. I'm not running away. I'm refusing to participate in your toxic show. There's a difference. The only thing toxic here is your attitude, Jenna said. You came on this show with a chip on your shoulder, looking for a fight. I came on this show to talk about my music, Carrie said, her voice rising again. You're the one who turned it into an interrogation about my personal life. You're the one who couldn't just have a normal, respectful conversation. Because normal and respectful is boring, Jenna shouted back. This is television. People want drama, they want real emotion. They want to see the person behind the image. Then maybe you should try showing the person behind your image, Carrie shot back. Because right now, all anyone can see is someone desperate for relevance who's willing to throw anyone under the bus to get it. Jenna took a step forward, her finger pointing at Carrie. You think you're better than me? You think because you've sold some records and won some awards that makes you special? You're just another celebrity who can't handle criticism. This isn't criticism, Carrie said firmly. This is harassment, and I'm done with it. She started walking toward the exit, but Jenna wasn't finished. She followed Carrie, the cameras tracking both of them. Don't you walk away from me, Jenna yelled. We're not done here. Carrie spun around, and the look on her face was pure steel. Oh, we are absolutely done here. I will never set foot on this show again. And I'm going to make damn sure everyone knows exactly what kind of host you really are. Go ahead, Jenna taunted. Tell everyone. See if anyone believes you over me. I have millions of viewers who love this show. They love it because they don't know what happens behind the scenes, Carrie said. They don't know how you treat people when the cameras aren't rolling. But they're about to find out. Jenna laughed, but it sounded almost hysterical. Is that a threat? Are you threatening me? It's not a threat. It's a promise, Carrie said calmly. I'm not going to let you get away with treating people like this anymore. You're delusional, Jenna spat. Nobody is going to care about your little tantrum. By tomorrow, everyone will have forgotten this even happened. Carrie shook her head slowly. You really believe that, don't you? You really think you're untouchable. But here's the thing, Jenna. This is all being broadcast live. Thousands of people are watching this right now. They're seeing exactly how you operate. They're seeing you lose control and show your true colors. For the first time since the confrontation started, doubt flickered across Jenna's face. She glanced at the cameras, seeming to suddenly remember they were still rolling. But instead of backing down, she doubled down. Good, Jenna said defiantly. Let them watch. Let them see me standing up to a pampered celebrity who thinks she's too good to answer honest questions. Honest? Carrie's voice dripped with contempt. There was nothing honest about this interview. You had an agenda from the moment I walked in here. You wanted to create drama, to manufacture a scandal where there isn't one. Well, congratulations, you got your drama. I hope it was worth destroying whatever credibility you had left. My credibility is just fine, Jenna insisted, but her voice wavered slightly. You're the one who's going to come out of this looking bad. People are going to see you as the difficult diva who couldn't handle a simple interview. Carrie smiled, but there was no warmth in it. If that's what you need to tell yourself, go ahead. But we both know the truth. Everyone watching knows the truth. You crossed a line today, Jenna, and you can't uncross it. She turned to leave again, and this time she made it several steps before Jenna called out one more time. You'll regret this, Jenna said, her voice sharp and bitter. Walking out on my show is a mistake you're going to pay for. Carrie stopped, but didn't turn around. The only mistake I made was coming here in the first place. I won't be making that mistake again. And with that, she walked off the set, her heels clicking against the floor in the sudden silence. The audience sat frozen, not sure whether to applaud or stay quiet. Jenna stood in the middle of the set, her chest heaving, her face still flushed with anger. For a long moment, nobody moved. The cameras kept rolling, capturing Jenna's expression as it shifted from anger to confusion to something that might have been regret, though it was hard to tell. Her co-hosts remained in their seats, looking absolutely shell-shocked by what they'd just witnessed. Finally, one of the producers called for a commercial break, and the red lights on the cameras blinked off. But the damage was already done. The confrontation had been broadcast live to millions of viewers. It was already being clipped and shared across social media. There was no taking it back, no editing it out, no pretending it didn't happen. Jenna slowly walked back to her chair and sat down heavily. She looked at her co-hosts, who stared back at her with expressions that ranged from sympathy to disapproval. Nobody seemed to know what to say. Meanwhile, Carrie Underwood was backstage, being ushered toward the exit by concerned staff members. Her face was composed now, the anger replaced by a calm determination. She didn't look back, didn't hesitate. She simply kept walking, her head held high, until she disappeared through the door and into the hallway beyond. The confrontation was over, but its impact was just beginning. Social media was already exploding with reactions. Some people were defending Jenna, saying Carrie overreacted and should have expected tough questions. But far more people were criticizing Jenna, calling out her aggressive interviewing style and her refusal to respect Carrie's boundaries. Back in the studio, Jenna sat through the commercial break in silence. When the cameras came back on, she tried to salvage the show, moving on to the next segment as if nothing had happened. But her voice was shaky, her usual confidence shattered. The remaining guests and co-hosts did their best to carry on, but the energy in the room had completely changed. Everyone knew they'd just witnessed something unprecedented. Morning talk shows were supposed to be safe, comfortable, predictable. But Jenna had pushed too hard, asked too much, and Carrie had pushed back even harder. The result was a confrontation that would be analyzed, discussed, and debated for weeks to come. As the show limped toward its conclusion, Jenna made no mention of what had happened with Carrie. She didn't apologize, didn't acknowledge it, didn't try to explain herself. She just kept going, reading from the teleprompter, laughing at the appropriate moments, playing the role of the cheerful morning host. But anyone watching could see the cracks in her facade, the strain in her smile, the tension in her shoulders, the way her eyes kept darting to the monitors, as if checking to see if Carrie might somehow return. She knew she'd made a mistake. She knew she'd gone too far, but she was too proud to admit it, too stubborn to back down. The final moments of the show were awkward and uncomfortable. The usual closing banter felt forced and hollow. When Jenna finally signed off, thanking the viewers for watching and telling them to have a great day, it felt almost surreal given what had just transpired. As soon as the cameras stopped rolling, Jenna pulled off her microphone and stood up quickly. She didn't wait for her co-hosts, didn't stop to talk to the producers who were trying to get her attention. She just walked off the set with quick, angry strides, disappearing into her dressing room and slamming the door behind her. The studio crew began breaking down the set, speaking in hushed voices about what they'd witnessed. Some were excited, energized by the drama. Others were worried about what this meant for the show's future, for Jenna's career, for everyone involved. Outside the studio, Carrie Underwood climbed into a waiting car. She pulled out her phone and saw it was already blowing up with messages from her team, her friends, her family. Everyone wanted to know if she was okay, what had happened, why the interview had gone so wrong. But Carrie didn't respond to any of them yet. She just looked out the window as the car pulled away from the studio, watching the building disappear behind her. Her hands had stopped shaking. Her breathing had returned to normal. She felt calm, centered, sure of herself in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. She had stood up for herself. She had refused to be bullied or manipulated. She had walked away from a toxic situation with her dignity intact. And while she knew there would be consequences, that people would have opinions, that this would be a story for days or weeks to come, she also knew she'd done the right thing. Sometimes standing up for yourself meant making a scene. Sometimes it meant walking away. Sometimes it meant burning a bridge you'd never wanted to cross again anyway. And Carrie Underwood had just done all three in spectacular fashion, on live television, for the whole world to see. Back in her dressing room, Jenna Bushhager sat alone, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her makeup was smudged from stress sweating under the hot studio lights. Her hair, so perfect at the start of the show, was now slightly disheveled. She looked tired, angry, and perhaps for the first time, a little bit scared. Because while Carrie had walked out of that studio, Jenna was the one who had to stay. She was the one who had to face the fallout, answer the questions, deal with the consequences of pushing a guest too far. She had wanted drama, wanted that viral moment, wanted to prove she could get celebrities to break their carefully constructed images. Well, she'd gotten what she wanted. The interview was definitely going viral, but not in the way she'd hoped. Instead of being praised for her hard-hitting questions, she was being criticized for her aggressive tactics. Instead of Carrie looking like the bad guy, Jenna was the one being painted as the villain. The whole thing had backfired spectacularly. Her phone buzzed with a call from one of the network executives. Jenna stared at it, watching it ring and ring, but she didn't pick up. She wasn't ready to face that conversation yet, wasn't ready to hear what they thought about what had just happened on live television, wasn't ready to defend herself or apologize or whatever it was they expected her to do. So she just sat there in silence, alone in her dressing room, while outside the door the chaos continued. Producers scrambled to do damage control. Social media erupted with hot takes and opinions. News outlets began writing their stories about the confrontation. And somewhere across town, Carrie Underwood was probably already moving on with her day, leaving this whole mess behind her. The confrontation had lasted less than 15 minutes from start to finish. But those 15 minutes had changed everything. They'd exposed tensions that had been building for who knows how long. They'd revealed sides of both women that the public rarely got to see. They'd created a moment of raw, unscripted television that would be remembered long after everyone forgot about the original reason for the interview. And as the sun began to set on what had been one of the most dramatic days in morning television history, one thing was crystal clear. Nothing would ever be quite the same again. Not for Jenna, not for Carrie, not for the show, and not for the millions of viewers who had witnessed it all unfold in real time. The dramatic exit was complete. Carrie Underwood had walked out, and she wasn't coming back.